South Africa's Police Commissioner Fannie Masemola is reported to lack the necessary security clearance needed for his job. Masemola's clearance is said to have expired back in 2019, and he has been unsuccessful in getting it back, which means he has been working without it for 4 years now. Officials without a security clearance certificate are not entitled to high-level information about police operations. So how does the lack of clearance impact the individual's work, if at all? Let's speak to security expert Calvin Rafadi. Mr. Rafadi, good morning. And as always, thank you very much for your time. Now, those reports that the Commissioner doesn't have a security clearance are quite concerning, particularly now when law enforcement agencies must share sensitive documents in their operation to ensure law and order in the country on such a day as this one. What does this all mean for the Police Commissioner?
Morning, Nofundo, and morning to your viewers. Yeah, no, indeed, it's a big problem, and not having that particular police, security clearance, it's tantamount to anarchy. And like the gentleman has to report to Parliament with his top secret report or confidential reports or even secret reports, whereby tomorrow we will be told that they are not worth of a white paper that is being written on, because of this particular certificate that he hasn't acquired. But at the same time, we blame the employer, because remember, it's mandatory requirement that on the spec when they advertise the post, one has to subject to vetting to get this particular security clearance. So in that essence, I totally agree with the minister when he says state security are the ones and the employer who must handle this particular department and who must make sure that Mr. Fannie Masemola has got this clearance. But now look, it has cost now the nation now to look into this issue, and it's tantamount to anarchy not having that particular certificate.
But why is the process, because from what we're getting, the process is then backwards. Should it not be a situation that when individuals are shortlisted, they are then vetted at that process, and only a person who gets the clearance can possibly be appointed?
Yeah, normally how it works is, with Mr. Fannie, before he was appointed, he had a clearance
in 2019,
at the time,
yes.
Clearance, and then it expired, I think, in 2019, but he was appointed in 2022. Now, what happens, he cannot use the very same clearance, even though it hasn't expired, that one. He can't use it on a new contract, on a new post. So like I say, you are subjected now to go for, once you are shortlisted and you are appointed, you are subjected now to go for this particular clearance, whereby your fingerprint, your credit scoring, including the lying detector, by the way. And the process takes almost like 15 days. It's a quick process, but because of the state security backlog and, the laziness of the people that are handling this thing at the state security, they have compromised now the employer, which is now SAPS in this space. And once that is done, and once, let's say, Fannie Masemola had to fail now the particular clearance, then there's a process of rehab, where now he can go on a rehab. And then once he fails the rehab, and then they can say, no, we're not granting you this particular certificate, unless if he passes the rehab. But that's how the process goes.
But then at this point, do you think that they are withholding those sensitive documents from the police commissioner because one would think then there'd be in contravention of the laws? Or do you think they're probably sharing, some of them unaware that he had not gotten the clearance?
Look, like I say, the employer in this instance is the one which is SAPS, who has employed Mr. Fannie. They are the ones who must acquire the certificate and file it in one of their top secret cupboard or whatever. Mr. Fannie only gets a copy only upon request. If he wants a copy, he can get a copy, but there's no way where he can use that particular copy. So, but because there's a backlog at state security, not only Mr. Fannie Masemola is not properly vetted, even some of the SOEs, I mean, we've seen with ESCOM where they go
with Andre Doreta, yes.
Yes, all of those. But the employee that are employed to deal with this thing at the state security level, they are the ones who are sitting with this particular backlog, I can call it, but also the laziness, or I don't know why they're dragging their feet to vet this particular people. But, at the end of the day, it's government, and we've seen how it's like in government. I mean, when it's month end for the traffic departments and home affairs, somebody at the head office switches off the computer and then they'll tell you they're offline, they close the office. So it's the same tendency that you get even as state security.
Then to today's shutdown or protest, depending on who you are and how you view it. But it seems to be a fairly peaceful morning. One wonders, though, if it can be attributed to the police's preparedness, over-preparedness, or it's just really, as the EFF had stated it would be, that they would be very disciplined in their march.
You know, according to my experience, one can just, I can call it playing chess. It's too early to tell. And we've seen, I mean, the likes of the bombs that were done in Soweto and some of that, the other guys' house, that and Tantalak's home. And, you know, one should wait until in the evening and see what will happen. Because apparently on some of the interviews, some of the leaders in other political parties, they say, no, somebody's at an undisclosed location. So it's a chess playing. We don't know what will be the outcome at the end of the day. But I say police must be there, out there, and then have control of the situation. And, you know, at the end of the day, the protesters are delivering their mandate. And they shouldn't like relax, like, you know, normally with the police, around 6 o'clock in the evening is their time now to change the shift. So even those that are coming on a night shift, they mustn't relax, they must follow suit as well.
All right, Calvin, thank you very much for your time this morning. That was Calvin Rafadi, BizTrace's security expert.